What's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of Bullish Chips, where we use a proven and repeatable strategy to make money every day. This channel happens to focus on the Bullish Semiconductor ETF, which goes by the ticker symbol SOXL. But the charting and trading method that we use can be implemented when trading any publicly traded company in the U.S. stock market. So make sure you hit that like button if you enjoy the video. Thanks again to all those who continue to tune in and hit that like button. We really enjoy it. But if you have not already, make sure you hit that subscribe and notification bell as well. That way you're notified when we release new videos. We release bonus content from time to time, aside from the nightly and weekend videos. So you want to make sure you're alerted for those videos. The nightly and weekend videos, like tonight's video, mostly focus on identifying triggers and targets for trades ranging from scalps and intraday trades all the way up to long-term, swing and leap trades as well. So if you want a deeper dive into exactly how we set up our charts, with the color coding for different time frames, broadening formations, different levels, things of that nature, make sure you check out the bonus content on our YouTube page. I've got a couple videos that dive deeper into that. And if you want more information about the strat, which is the base of our charting and trading method, you can find more free information in the description of this video as well. So while the nightly and weekend videos do focus mostly on triggers and targets, we give some pretty good insight into the price action on all time frames. So I encourage you to watch the full video, and I'm sure you'll be glad that you did. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda for today. First, we'll recap the price action from Wednesday, November 12th. We'll zoom out like we always do, look at the week, month, quarter, and year, make sure we are level set on exactly where we're at. Then we'll zoom back in and set up the 4-hour markers and the triggers and targets for Wednesday, not October 13th, but November 13th. Not sure why that is like that. Anyways, and then we'll also do a quick review of the triggers and targets for the week, month, quarter, and year. All right. So just looking at the intraday price action for today, we've got the 4-hour markers here on the chart. Up towards the top, we've got the overnight high at 44.10. We've got the previous high a day at 44.04. We've got the overnight low at 41.81 and the previous low a day at 41.65 down here at the bottom of the chart. Now, a couple of levels that we want to mention, this green dashed line, that's the 50% level of last month, October. And the purple dashed line is the 50% level of last week. All right. Now, those are the levels that we have on the chart before price opens. But once price opens, we go ahead and mark that here with this peach colored dash line. So we can see that we opened up here at 44.01, right at the previous high a day and overnight high, right? So if you're not new, or if you're not familiar with this channel, the proven and repeatable strategy for scalping and intraday trades at the beginning of the day, we look for higher lows at or above the opening price, or we look for higher lows at or above opening price to get into calls, and then we look for lower highs at or below opening print or opening price to get into puts. Okay, so higher lows at or above opening print calls, lower highs at or below opening print puts. Pretty simple. There's some nuance that you can add on to it, but if you're just starting out, just getting familiar with this, those are the general rules to remember. So we can see that we opened here and we pushed down, and we got a bounce basically, right? Now, this is part of the nuance that we bring into the equation, right? So we're below opening print, but we take into account where things are at. We're almost gapped up. A reasonable, from a day chart perspective, we've almost gapped up from, yesterday's close or Tuesday's close to Wednesday's open is a substantial, a decent sized gap. So we've got, momentum to the bulls. And if you actually look at this, when you bring in price action from Tuesday, this low is actually a higher low, right? So in the trend count on the 5-minute chart, we're looking at a higher low there. All right, so it is below opening print. We're looking at the higher low. We're right around the last week's 50% level. This fib is the top of the range from October, so we're right at a level of support. Yes, you may push down through that a little bit. Maybe knock out some stop losses and things of nature that can be set up at those levels, and then push back up. So we knew it would be a little bit riskier than, following the normal rules because we are below opening print. So we did open a position, not a normal size position, a smaller position at the money. And we entered calls when we went 2 up here above this 2 down, locking this 2 down in as a higher low, right? And you can see we push back up, we push through opening print, push through overnight high. And so at that point, from a scalp perspective, those are the targets, right? When we're talking about the beginning of the day, early morning trades, overnight high and previous high day are the targets to the upside. So at that point, we have to take into account a couple of more things here, right? We've got this daily downtrend line that's coming through here. Now, again, we don't put a whole lot of weight into downtrend lines and uptrend lines, but when they coincide with horizontal levels and broadening formations, that's when we give them a little bit more weight, right? So we can see we've got a 15-minute broadening formation coming up through here from the end of day Friday, right? Here's the broadening formation that got created. We came up and we hit that where that intersects with the downtrend line. That's also right at overnight high, previous high day, which can act as levels of resistance. So we went ahead and took off a majority of our position once we got this bearish engulfing candle here. So decent amount of profit that we got here. Nothing huge, but when we talk about the intraday action that we've been having the last few weeks, it's just a lot of it's sideways, right? We get very few full trending days. So and when I say sideways, it doesn't mean we necessarily just trade one price the whole day, right? It can be an up and down action, but you can see here, even with the up and down action we were getting, it became more constrained and tightened up as the day went on, right? So don't have too much risk on the board, and we'll look at here in a second on the day chart, but there's a possibility not only on the day chart but on the 4-hour chart that we could be putting in a lower high here, right? So you don't want too much risk on the table with the shorter dated options. We've got calls for December monthly expiration that I don't want to say we weren't worried about them, but we weren't looking to sell them today unless it's some type of rug pull triggers the lower high on the day and things of that nature, start to domino effect. But those November monthly expirations, or if you've got weeklies for this week, that's when you want to kind of take some of the risk off the table, take your profit. If we go sideways, no harm, no foul, especially if you leave a runner or two. And if we drop, then okay, you've got your profit out of it, and you can just continue to watch and wait for another good setup to enter on. So went ahead and took most profit here. We ended up taking profit after we got a lower high here, and then this lower low back below last week's 50%. We went ahead and sold the rest of our position here. So still had a little bit of profit, not a whole lot in those runners, but overall, once you take into account the whole position that we had, a decent day for sideways action, right? Especially if you're only playing one-legged strategies, right? Now, if you're doing some type of straddle or strangle or iron condor or something like that, then sideways action could be more profitable for you. But when we're talking about just the basics, just easy, or the more simple, easier trading, one leg options, that's how we would play it, right? So after that, you can see again we got we started to tighten up on price action. Did kind of start to fall out at the end of the day, but you can see we got essentially like a double bottom. We never went below the day's low. So, continuing to stay above any type of like intraday gap that we have. Obviously, it's not a gap on the day chart, but from the close on Tuesday to the open on Wednesday, that is considered a gap. And we didn't go and fill it. And actually, let's go ahead and just do this. If you take a look at the close to, close to open gap, you can see the bounce points. All right, we bounced off the 30, went through, bounced off the 50, came down, bounced off the 38.2, 38.2, 38.2, and then we back out. Right now, one thing I would say is because we didn't continue to fill this intraday chart gap, that does seem a little bit more bullish, right? But at the same time, we still closed below the day's open, so the day closed red, right? We're still below the week flip, right? So the week is still red. We've been below the month flip, so the month is still red. So again, it's not overly bearish, but it's not overly bullish either, right? It's just more of a neutral stance right now, and we've got to continue to be patient and see where things go. Talking about that 4-hour chart, if we just bring that up here, we can see that right here's the high. We came down, we made this higher low, but we're still at risk of possibly putting in a lower high, right? If tomorrow opens up and we push down and we go below the low of the first 4-hour candle from Wednesday, then that locks that in as a lower high, and we're still below this daily downtrend line, back below this 50% of last week, right? That's still acting as resistance. Do we see last month's 50% acting as support again, or do we start to break through it and see it as resistance, right? It's a perfect possibility, perfectly reasonable to think of that as a possibility here in this situation, because technically we're still in the downtrend on the, especially on the day chart, right? We got lower high, lower high, lower high. If we go 2 down tomorrow on the day, that's another lower high here, right? So we continue to push down. Now it is this was a higher low here, so price action is just getting more constricted here, and we may just see more sideways action before we see the pop one way or the other. But the main thing right now is just patience, right? We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves with calls or puts, because not only do we have these 50% levels, right? That's here's like the main range from October, right? So we're sitting right on top of it. Do we fall back into October's range, or do we push back up into that beginning of November range? All right, so we're still kind of neutral. From like the week and up, we're still pretty bullish, but the day chart and down, definitely neutral, slightly even bearish leaning, right? And again, it's not the end of the world. Because if we look at, let's zoom out a little bit here and look at the week chart. Let's get us a little cleaner chart here, and we can see, we're still all right. We're inside on the week, right? We're not necessarily in the upper half of the week, more towards the middle, or even poking down into the lower half of last week. But as long as we stay inside and have the possibility to push back up, locking this in as a higher low, we're plenty fine on the week chart. Even if we do continue to push down, we're still okay on the week chart, right? Because we can come all the way down to 2350 before we're making any type of lower low, right? So again, on the week, neutralizing a little bit more, but in my opinion, still bullish, right? Neutral to bullish leaning, right? And then if we continue to move higher in the time frames, things look even more bullish, right? So let's pull out the month chart here, and we can see 2 up, 2 up. We're an inside month, inside last month's price action, still hanging within the top half of last month's price action, right? We did push down into the second half, but the bulls bought it back up, and we seem to be staying above. So sideways consolidation. This could be considered bullish consolidation before we continue to pop up for the rest of, for maybe December, right? Again, not calling for that, but that could be the setup. So from the month perspective, bullish, neutral at worst. From the quarter, same type of thing. Bullish, because we're in this one combo 2 down, combo 2 up strat reversal, right? That triggered here at 36.15, and the magnitude of that move is all the way up here at 70.08, right? It's the high of the candle to the left of the one. All right, so as long as we're above this 36.15, we're still in force with the strat to the upside, looking for 70.08. Now I do see that we have a decent wick forming here, but if we still finish green, right, unless we're some type of inverted hammer shooter type of candle, I'm not getting too worried from the quarter perspective, right? That's if we were to push down into this inverted hammer, maybe doji type of candle, or even turn red, we're no longer in force in the one combo 2 up 2 down, so it'd be warranted to look more bearish at that in that situation. And Also because this could become a higher, lower high in the sequence from the quarter chart, right? So if we push down into the end of the quarter and we open up in 2026 and we push down, it locks that in as a lower high. So that would start more of a downtrend, and we would have to adjust accordingly, right? But for right now, neutral at worst in my opinion, from the month chart and up, right? We're looking at the year and how the year started out as a 1, 2 up, 2 down, right? But we never reached magnitude, almost reached magnitude, but didn't. And so far look like we're setting a higher low on the year chart, making a nice green hammer, right? The only thing we want to do is continue to push up, take away some of this wick to give us the best chance we can at going 2 up in 2026, triggering a 2 down, 2 up with that magnitude of 70.08. All right. So again, from the month and up, especially, definitely more bullish. The week, a little bit more neutral leaning, but or a little bit more neutral, but leaning bullish still. And it's not until we get to the day and below that we're looking at more of a I don't even want to say bearish situation, although we are in a downtrend on the day chart, but we're holding above some key levels, so we're still looking all right. No real major breakdown or anything like that. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom back in here and take a look at our scalp chart to get ready for Thursday. And oops, did we get the right chart? Yeah, scalp. So let's go ahead and identify the 4-hour markers first. Those would be, there we go. Let's get everything on the board here. All right, we've got our previous high a day up here at 44.63. We've got our previous low a day here down at 42.85. And so far, the overnight high is 43.85 and overnight low is 43.13, right? Those could change overnight. We just don't know until we open up tomorrow morning, that where we'll know where the overnight high and overnight low were. All right. So let's just take a look at the situation from the scalping perspective first in our early morning trades. Let's say price opens here around 43.50 and we get a push up and maybe a reject off of overnight high, the 100 fib extension of the bull flag from April, right? Those are decent places where you could see some type of pullback. So if we open up, we push up, we get a pullback, but then we get a higher low at or above that opening print level, then we want to go ahead and get into calls, and we're first targeting the overnight high and then targeting previous high a day, right? On the other side of the coin, if we open here and we push down, maybe we get a bounce off of overnight low and we push back up, but we get a lower high at or below the opening print, we want to look to get into puts, first targeting overnight low and previous low day as our second target, right? That's our scalping perspective. Let's zoom out a little bit and look at more of an intraday trade. Right here, looking at the 4-hour chart. I'll just do a real quick look at the 1-hour chart. Don't always do this, but we can see we are trying to flip trend on the 1 hour, right? So we had this high, higher low, about equal high, but it was a lower high, right? And we had the push down for the lower low. So now we're trying to recover from that. So we got a lower high, but we got a higher low here and then a higher high. So that's the first things we need, right? Higher low, then higher high. And then we've locked in a higher low here as well, because the end of the day we did go 2 up, right? So it remains to be seen whether we reject here at, where this downtrend line and the 50% level of last week are intersecting. Again, the 100 fib extension from the bull flag from the April low, right? There is a possibility to reject, but if we push above, we want to make sure that we're making this higher high in the sequence, which would then actually turn around the trend, right? So right now we're still neutral, and we just need that higher high to start to set the trend, right? So the 1 hour starting to look more bullish. If we go to the 4 hour, again, we do run the possibility of this being a lower high, right? So we do want to watch how price action opens up on Thursday. But if we do get the push up, we want to, again, just like on the hour chart, we want to make sure we get that higher high to start the uptrend on the 4-hour chart. All right. Now, if we're talking about trades and the strat, we see here that on Wednesday we had a 2 and then an inside candle. So if we go to the downside in that first 4-hour candle tomorrow, that's a 2-1-2 down, right? That triggers at 43.01, which is the low here. and then the magnitude is the low of the candle to the left of that one, which is 42.85. Now, if we reach that magnitude, that then triggers the 1, 2 up, combo 2 down, and the magnitude of that move is down here at 41.65. Right, that's looking at it from the 4-hour perspective. Now, if we get it to the upside, we would have a 2, 1, 2 up, triggering at the high of the 1, which is 43.93, and the magnitude of that move would be the high of the 2, so that's 44.63, right? At that point, if we reach that magnitude, we have 1, 2 up, 2 down, a little kind of messy, right? But we got the 1, 2 down, combo 2 up. If we continue to push up, and the magnitude of that move is the high of the candle to the left of the 1, which is 45.52. All right. Flip to the day chart for the full day trade, possibly overnight swing, couple of night swing trade. Right. The key here is whether we can get the continued push up to get the higher high to break this downtrend on the day chart. Right. We had the lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. But now we've got this higher low. If we can get the higher high, that's starting the uptrend. And then if we get a pullback for another higher low, all right, now we're starting to really rock and roll. We've broken this daily downtrend line. We're looking at this older one and these other levels of resistance, right? Market makers expected move high, last year's 50% level, last week's high, the month flip. We can start to look at those once we get up into that area. But for right now, we just want to achieve the higher high on the day chart, right? Now, if we do go to the downside and we go below the low of Wednesday, then we're looking at a 2 up, 2 down. That triggers at the low here at 42.85, which is the magnitude of the 4-hour move. And then the magnitude of this 2 up, 2 down is the low of this 2 candle, and that is 41.65, right? So you can see how those play into the 4-hour triggers and targets as well. Now, if we make it past that, then we've got a situation where we're going to try and get to that 78.6 fib from that bull flag from April low. And if we continue to push that, we're looking at last week's lows, right? Market makers expected move low for this week isn't too much further below that. So somewhere around this area, I would expect we see some pretty solid support, right? The last quarter's high right here at 35.49. So a lot of support here if we do get the push to the downside. So don't look for it to just go crashing through here. If we go to the upside, then we've got this 2 down combo 2 up situation triggering at the high of this 2, 44.63, and the magnitude of that move is 45.52. If we get the continued push after that, then again, those same levels come into play. Last year's 50% level, which has been some resistance in the past. We've got the market makers expected move high, which again is not an end-all be-all. Price doesn't have to reverse at that level. Also, side note, if you're not familiar with the market makers expected move high and low, make sure you check out our weekend video where we dive in a little bit deeper into that. If we break above that, then we've got obviously this first initial daily downtrend line to deal with and the month flip. So still got a lot of work to do to the upside, even if we do push up, right? It's not all roses to the upside. We got to keep that in mind. So let's just go back to our notes here and look at the hard numbers, right? So for Thursday, November 13th, there will be 32 trading days left in 2025. The close price from Wednesday, October 12th is 43.71. And we know what we have to do to flip the week and the month green. And then we know that we're still holding the quarter and the year green, and would have to get down to those levels before they flip red. Again, we talked about the market makers expected move. That's plus or minus $5.66 from Friday's close price. That gave us a range of 47.40 to 36.08. And we know where our gaps above and our gaps below are. Now, we talked about on the scalp chart how we're looking for higher lows at or above opening print to get into calls, and looking for lower highs at or below opening print to get into puts. So I won't go over those in any more detail. We'll just look at the 4-hour and day chart a little bit more in detail for those longer intraday trades, possible overnight swings. If we do get price action to the downside, we get that 2-1-2 down triggering at 43.01 with the magnitude of 42.85. So not a whole lot of magnitude, but once we do reach that 42.85, if we go below it, that triggers the 1-2 up combo 2 down, and then we've got a magnitude of 41.65 for that move. And then to the upside, we have a 2-1-2 up triggering at 43.93 with the magnitude of 44.63. So a little bit more magnitude to the upside than the downside on the initial strat reversal. But that then again puts us into that kind of messy one combo two down, combo two up if we go above 44.63, and that magnitude for that move is 45.52. Now for the day, again, if we go two up, two down on the day, that triggers at 41.65 with the, where's our magnitude? What do we do here? 41.65, 42.85 is where we trigger. We had the wrong trigger in there, so I'm glad we caught it. So let's start over here on the day. If we go to the downside, we get a two up, two down. That triggers at 42.85 with the magnitude of 41.65. And then we've got some extended targets out here that are some previous levels of support. All right, now if we go to the upside, we're getting a two down combo two up, triggering at 44.63 with the magnitude of 45.06, which again is not a whole lot of magnitude, but it triggers another two down combo two up with the magnitude of 45.52, giving you a little bit more magnitude there. But once we breach 45.52, our first target will be the round number of 46 flat. We do have the last year's 46.77. Last year's 50% level at 46.77. But that's a little ways to go for intraday movement. Going off of the intraday movement that we've had over the last couple of days. So. Last couple of weeks, I should say. So we don't want to get too extended with our targets here. We want to keep them reasonable, and that's why we just kept it at the round 46. Round numbers do tend to be, targets for a lot of people. Their strike prices on contracts. So you could see some sideways action, if not, a slight pullback at that 46 level before we reach last year's 50% level of 46.77. All right. So that's for the scalping and intraday, overnight swing trades. If we look at the week chart, well, actually, we won't go back to the week chart. We'll just go over the week, month, quarter, and year triggers and targets. We went over those the week, month, quarter, and year target, week, month, quarter, and year charts at the beginning of the video. So if you want to go over those again, just hit rewind. But on the week, we're still an inside week. We have not triggered to the downside or upside. We've got to go down to 37.04 to trigger the downside, and we've got to get up to 50.19 to trigger to the upside. We're pretty much smack in the middle of that. So I don't see us triggering either of those tomorrow, but we do have the triggers and as well as the magnitudes and targets for those moves if we do trigger somehow. On the month, again, we're still an inside month. We've got to get down to 33.98 to trigger to the downside and get up to 50.76 to trigger to the upside. So once again, we're in the middle of that range now. I don't see us breaching either of those values tomorrow or on Thursday. So, if we get a big push up to, maybe 48, something like that, that would be a pretty big push. Now we might look at possibly triggering to the upside, or if we get it, we'd have to pull back $7-8 before we even really threaten the downside. So the month still yet to be seen. Don't need to be too worried about this at this point. Just let it kind of develop, let the week play out, and then that'll start to give us better ideas about the month. But from the quarter perspective, we are still down in this one combo two down, combo two up, as long as we stay above 36.15, and we've got our extended targets here on the way up to the magnitude of 70.08. Got to get all the way down to 22.57 to pull off a red 3 or a bearish golfing candle on the quarter. So not really worth talking about at this point. If we look at the year, we talked about earlier, we triggered the 1, 2 up, 2 down on the year, but we're able to reverse it, create a higher low as of now, and push up to be a green hammerish candle at this point in time. So just want to continue to see that push up, not really threatening anything at this point from the year chart. So again, the month and up, still bullish leaning. The week a little bit more neutral, but still has a bullish edge to it, and the day and the 4 hour are actually neutralizing at this point as well, right? We're not bullish leaning yet, but they're neutralizing, right? So if you're a bull, nothing to really be worried about at this time, right? This is what we have for our triggers and targets from the scalp chart all the way up through the year chart. So hope everybody enjoyed that. We tried to pack in as much information as possible without taking up too much of your time. So again, this channel is a free channel. We're not selling anything or got any donations asking for anything like that. So only thing we're asking for is the thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. We just want to continue to spread this information to as many people as possible, try and help make trading a little bit easier for people, right? Trading is not necessarily going to be easy for everyone, but if we can make things easier by providing proven strategies, repeatable strategies, that's what we're out here to do, right? So we do this for ourselves every night. We figure we might as well, record it and, maybe let some other people know about it that might not know about it. So again, thumbs up goes a long way. We do enjoy conversing with those of you in the comments of our videos that leave comments. So continue to leave those for us. If there's anything that you want us to dive into deeper, let us know as well. We can make bonus content from time to time aside from these nightly videos. So we'll end it how we normally do. If you're watching this on Wednesday night, we hope you get some good rest and wake up refreshed on Thursday. If you're watching this Thursday morning, we hope you got some good rest last night and you woke up refreshed today. And we just look forward to get out there and trading with you.